The ultimate fishing experience is brought to you by Lund Boats. This week on The Ultimate Fishing Experience, we explore the mindsets of competitive anglers to see what separates them from the rest of the fishing crowd. To do so, we'll share a day on the water with two of the best tournament anglers in the business. First, we head north of the border to join Jeff Gustafson in search of bruiser smallmouth bass.
Tough to beat that afternoon, you know, catching your favorite species of fish on your favorite body of water with probably my favorite technique.
Then we'll join veteran walleye pro Ted Takasaki as he tackles big water for summer walleyes.
During the course of a tournament season, I use almost every square inch of this boat, as well as all the electronics and the high-tech tools I can utilize to catch fish just like that.
So it's time to stop talking and start stocking fish like your next paycheck depends on it.
You may not need all the bells and whistles that us competitive anglers need on our boats, but a well-rigged boat will certainly make you much more effective and efficient on the water.
Welcome to my office. I'm Jeff Gustafson, and for a good portion of the year, this is where I make my living. We're out today, basically in my backyard on Lake of the Woods, up on the Canadian side of the lake. It's obviously a massive body of water, 14,000 islands, more shoreline than Lake Superior, and probably one of the best multi-species lakes in the world. But today I'm doing one of my favorite things to do, and that's bass fishing, and kind of taking a two-pronged approach to what we're gonna do. It is kind of later in the season, but I'm throwing a topwater bait, just covering water. It's a relatively shallow basin that we're fishing in today. And then I've got a little tube jig kind of on standby for, if I see a little point that looks good, or if I miss a fish on a topwater, or maybe if I see a log, just something to throw in on those, if I think there's a fish there. So we're gonna cover some ground today and see if we can hunt down some smallmouths and have some fun on Lake of the Woods. There we go. That's a better one. We just got finished with a pretty big tournament up here last week, and typically most of the field is going to be catching smallmouths in pretty deep water. A lot of suspended fish, actually, fishing humps. It's a tournament where the guys in the tiller boats, like Alex Kessler, some of those guys typically kick everybody's butt. And my partner and I were pretty fortunate. We actually won the tournament on the weekend, and we were catching our fish shallow, fishing like I'm doing today. Unconventional for this time of year, but you always want to keep an open mind. You never know how the day is going to go.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Mercury Marine, 75 years of marine excellence.
So my setup today, throwing this popper, is just 30-pound braid. I like to use a 20-pound monofilament leader, and it's pretty short, less than 2 feet. Just two reasons why. This 20-pound mono is a lot stiffer than the braid, so my line's not constantly getting wrapped around. If you tie braid direct, especially lighter stuff like 20 or 30, your hooks are gonna get caught on it quite a bit. But I want the ability to have a good hook set on a long cast that you get with braided line, and the ability to cut through weeds, that sort of thing. So that's my setup. And I use a short leader because I don't want that big leader knot with the 20-pound mono having to go through my guides when I'm casting. I want to keep that outside the guide. So that's my setup. My other deal I talked about was the tube, and I haven't really had to throw it a whole lot today, but I will at some point, I guarantee you, is just a small little 3-inch tube, green pumpkin. Can't go wrong. Anywhere in North America where there's smallmouths, you can catch them on that bait right there. So that's my follow-up. If I see a get a blow up on the top water that I don't hook, or if I see a boulder, a log, something specific that might be holding a fish, that's when I'll cast this little tube in there. There we go. There's one on the tube. Yeah, just another nice one. Not a giant, but that was one where we're on a real nice, pretty little point here, and I casted that topwater a couple times, never got a fish, so figured I better cast the tube out there, and paid off. So, not a big one, but scrappy little guy. That's what we like to see, action. Let's take a look at some of the features on my boat that allow me to be a better bass angler. You can see how much room I have up in the front of this boat. You can match it up. Whoa, I keep trying to talk and I'm getting interrupted by bass. This one feels pretty good. But I'm talking about the front of this boat and huge deck. Obviously there's lots of room. You can fish a couple people comfortably, and it's also really stable, which is pretty cool as well. You can, have a couple guys up here on one side of the boat, and big water, doesn't matter, you're gonna be fine. So that's the deal. You can see in the background we got some rocks, picked up some weeds that time. They seem to like having a little bit of weed around too. But yeah, having the lots of room makes it nice, for casting and just real comfortable to fish out of. So the other thing too, I get asked a lot, what size trolling motor do I need for my boat? And my general rule, if you have an 18-foot boat or under, 24 volts will probably be good for you. And if you have a 19 or 20-foot boat or bigger, you definitely want to go to the 36-volt system. And on these Minn Kotas, it's a 101-pound thrust motor. The raw power isn't a whole lot different between a 24 and a 36-volt motor, but where the difference is if you're running all day, I can't kill my batteries in a day in this boat. I run 3 Optima D31s, really good batteries that have the ability to give you power all day long, and I would never run a tournament boat especially without having the 36-volt system. Got my Humminbird GPS sonar right here. GPS has been a huge factor for me in making me a better angler over the last few years, having it on the bow of my boat. I rely on it a lot. The other thing I've got up here is a foot remote for my talons on the back. I got 2 Minn Kota talons, and those are shallow water anchoring devices. Probably the thing on my boat that I get asked about the most, for sure. And they go down about 8 feet, and when in shallow water, they're a bass fisherman's friend and allow you to be really stealthy, really sneaky in the water. So that's my stuff up in my station. Then obviously I've got a lot of good storage on the boat, and can pack a pile of gear in here. Whoa, there we go. That's a nice one. Sweet, man. So I'm putting a little bit of a pattern together here, just as long as I've got some weeds and I've got a little bit of rock around, I'm getting some fish. So this guy's just got one hook in him, kind of on the outside of the mouth too, so he's not hooked real well. This is where the nets are kind of nice to have, but whoa, we got him. Sometimes you just gotta grab them however works. He was actually hooked pretty good. There we go. Not a real big one, but another nice smallmouth, and that's probably one of the fish that people travel to Lake of the Woods in the Sunset Country region the most for, are these scrappy little guys just like this. Great place to topwater fish, and it's a lot of fun. All right, on a lot of the waters I fish are big. My home lakes, Lake of the Woods and Rainy Lake. The Great Lakes right now, if you're thinking smallmouth fishing, probably some of the best opportunities in the world. But if you're gonna fish on these big waters, you gotta have the boat to do it. And this big Lund Predator is the ticket for me. I run a 225 Pro XS on it, and really good fuel economy. I've got a big gas tank in this boat so I can make those 60 or 70 mile runs there and get back. I've been in big water on Lake Michigan and on Lake Erie, and I've never speared any waves with this boat. You can keep the nose up really easy. It's got a really good hole shot, so it handles really well in the really rough stuff. Today's outboard engines are built to run long and hard. They endure an amazing amount of punishment on the water, but even they require a little TLC on occasion. Adding the proper lubrications at prescribed intervals will keep your engines running smoothly over their lifespan.
While oil changes and service for vehicles are recommended every few thousand miles, scheduled outboard maintenance is based on running time. With four-stroke outboards, for example, you should change your oil every 100 hours or yearly, whichever comes first. With all outboards, the same goes for draining and replacing the gear lubricant in your lower unit, which boaters typically do at the end of the boating season. Other maintenance is best done as needed. For example, it pays to inspect your prop occasionally, removing any fishing line or debris, and place a dab of marine grease on the spline before replacing the propeller on the shaft. Inspect your fuel filter and clean or replace it as necessary. You can check out recommended maintenance items for your outboard at mercurymarine.com. Just click on Service and Support, scroll on down to your engine model and size, and click again to get detailed instructions for performing simple maintenance items at recommended intervals. It's the best way to ensure your outboard runs trouble-free throughout the life of the engine, and will help you put more fish in the boat over the long haul.
You know, over the past year, I've had the opportunity to fish the FLW Tour bass tournaments in the southern U.S., and it's been a pretty awesome experience. I was the only guy really that was running an aluminum boat, so that was kind of an interesting deal. I got some funny looks a few times, you know, going to places like Lake Okeechobee in Florida, Sam Rayburn in Texas, are big bodies of water, big lakes, and they can get rough and nasty, and I'm totally comfortable fishing in any condition in this boat. What makes Lund Boats so safe is what's underneath the floor, so if you want to see something cool, check this out. Lund drilled 66 holes in one of its boats, and not only did it stay afloat, it could even get up on plane. They're injected with closed cell foam designed to keep you afloat in an emergency and to minimize vibration. They don't just meet United States Coast Guard and Transport Canada regulations, they exceed them. You know, Florida fishing's all really shallow, and a lot of people also ask me, oh, you probably can't go in really shallow water with that boat, but the bottom of this boat is actually relatively flat, so I can promise you I can go just as shallow as any bass boat can go with this thing and get around just fine. And oh yeah, that's a big one. We were just talking about how pretty this looked, and we got Mr. Big Smallie. See if we can land this guy. Whew, sweet. Look at that big beauty. Tough to beat that afternoon, you know, catching your favorite species of fish on your favorite body of water with probably my favorite technique, so can't beat that. Whoa. Let's go have a look at what Ted Takasaki does to rig up the ideal walleye boat.
Fish.
Yep. All right.
Feels good, Teddy.
All right, Gary. Looks like a nice fish here, buddy.
They're all nice. Some are just a little nicer than others.
Got that.
You can see a sinker.
Oh, yeah.
Not real big, but nice fish.
You bet.
All right.
Oh, that one. Woohoo! All right, look at that. That's about a 21, 22 incher, a little skinny, but oh, they're all great fish. I tell you what, During the course of a tournament season, I use almost every square inch of this boat as well as all the electronics and the high-tech tools I can utilize to catch fish just like that. Woohoo! You know, as a walleye angler out here, we use a lot of different tools. One of the tools that I'm using today is the bow mount trolling motor with this little remote control where I can actually control speed, keep the proper depth, and then everything else. There's a lot of other things that I utilize as well. Sometimes I use the kicker motor, go a little faster, be able to troll crankbaits. Today, we're trolling spinners and bottom bouncers, but sometimes you're Lindy rigging and you gotta stay in a precise spot. So our boat is basically designed with all the tools to be able to present the lure right where the walleyes are. In other words, we're not casting as much, we're actually utilizing the boat to get those lures in the proper spot to catch some fish. In walleye tournaments, we're allowed to troll, we're allowed to drift, we're allowed to use a lot of different techniques versus the bass anglers. The bass guys, they're experts at putting a lure in a cup 30 feet away. They're casting at targets. As a walleye angler, envision my cup 30 feet down on the tip of a point. So therefore I'm using the boat to be able to present that jig, that rig, that crankbait down 30 feet, and I need to move that lure right over that cup 30 feet down. That's the difference. All right. Gary, you're hot.
Doesn't feel real big, but it's fish.
You bet.
In fact, it's not very big at all.
No,
But we'll find out soon enough.
not as big as that last hog.
It's all relative, I guess.
Oh, hey, it's a fish.
It's a fish.
Actually, it's
Not bad.
one of them slot fish.
One of those slot guys, one of those
You
freezer
bet.
fish. All
No
right.
doubt. Whether for tournament fishing or just out for fun and catching fish to eat, the most important storage in any boat is a great live well, and this one's got a great live well, I'll tell you what. In addition to an awesome live well, this boat's got a ton of storage for all my stuff. From the cargo netting where I keep all my drift socks, to a humongous glove box, and I mean that really comes in handy, to a rod locker that'll hold up to 8-foot long rods. I also have this great little storage compartment for the awning or the canopy over the top, and it keeps everything out of the way and gives me an extended casting deck back here in this boat. Feels like a smallmouth bass.
Well, let's check it out.
Yep.
Is it?
Yep.
Well, might as well net him. Bonus fish.
There you go. Every once in a while you get a few of these. You can lip these guys, not a walleye though. They're a lot of fun to catch. They really pull hard. The Minn Kota Terova bow mount trolling motor has got to be one of the greatest inventions for walleye fishermen. What I can do with that trolling motor, the push and pull with the kicker or the front, I can control it from anywhere in the boat. I can sit on the bow and actually work structure, cast from it with using it. It is just phenomenal. You combine that with the iPilot Link device where you actually connect the Terova to the Humminbird, gives you even more flexibility where you're able to follow contours, the Lake Master mapping chips, those contours that they've laid out, you can actually set it where it will follow those contours. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. The wind has picked up a little bit and we're trolling into the wind, and I want to keep my speed up. So I'm going to drop my kicker motor down into the water, fire it up, And now I'm going to use my kicker motor in conjunction with my bow mount trolling motor and my remote. I can control my speed, I can get my speed up to the proper speed, and then I'm able to also stay right on the edge of this brake by steering with my Minn Kota trolling motor up front. Finally.
Got him, Ted?
Got him, man.
All right.
This one feels like pretty decent fish.
Good.
I can't even make any ground on him. All right.
Looks like a nice fish, Ted.
Feels like a decent fish there, Gary. Every fish is a good fish, though.
Some are just a little more decent than others, right?
That's right.
All right, I like it. Nice eye, I can see him. Ain't quite ready yet, is he?
No, not yet. All right.
There we go,
there you
buddy.
Gary. Woohoo!
Nice.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Nice.
You may not need all the bells and whistles that us competitive anglers need on our boats, but a well-rigged boat will certainly make you much more effective and efficient on the water.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like more information, check out lundboats.com or these other online outlets.